My number one tip on how to foster independence in our children is to teach them how to do independent chores. Stick around if you want to find out how. Hi, I'm Krista from Mom's Find Truth. And I think the first question that we should be asking today is why. So before we figure out the how to, let's figure out the why. Because there is going to be a level of challenge in this process, as there is with teaching any new skill or concept to our children. We again are going to need a good bit of patience. And so I think it's always good to determine beforehand why this is valuable and why it's worth putting in every moment of effort that we're about to. So the first reason that teaching kids independent chores is invaluable is independence, which is kind of self-explanatory. But I believe us as moms, we adapt very easily to the nurturing aspect of newborn infants. Now, there are definite struggles to the newborn phase, but the idea of this little one is 100% relying on us, and that feeling that we need to do everything for them is very natural for our minds to adapt to. But as they get older, I think a struggle can be realizing when our children are ready for less aid and to tackle things in an independent way. And not just when they're ready, but when they would benefit by doing that. So this is a huge step for a lot of moms in developing that space where you are teaching them how to do something and then you are letting them grab the reins and do it on their own. Now, some other benefits to getting them, teaching them, investing the time in them so that they can learn to do chores independently is reducing the sense of entitlement. And we all know that that is a very prevalent struggle in today's youth. And so if we can pinpoint the cause of that and help direct our children in a different way, I think we would all appreciate that. So entitlement comes from believing you are due something. You deserve something. And ultimately, the root of that is not having adequate appreciation for those around you, for the effort that goes into the things around you. And usually that lack of appreciation comes from not participating in the things around you and from having those around you do it for you, which kind of feeds into the next benefit, which is appreciation or gratitude. So it can be very easy for kids to get very demanding with, Mom, do this. Mom, get me that. Mom, make this meal. Mom, I want more of that. But if they are not only seeing the effort that goes into these things, but they know that if they want these things, they're going to have to aid in the doing of these things, it can give them cause to pause before they demand it. And it can give them less of a desire to demand it because they fully appreciate what's done by mom or whoever to get it done. So for instance, if you involve your kids in, or you make a rule that your kids pick up their own messes, they are going to pause. Eventually, they're going to learn to pause before they create too much of a mess because one, they fully understand how hard it is to pick up a crazy big mess, but they also know they're going to have to be the ones to pick up that crazy big mess. And it just gives them appreciation for what's involved. Next is practical skills. How many kids do we know that have gotten through high school even and still don't really know some pretty basic skills, whether it be cooking or laundry or cleaning certain aspects of the house. If you were to go on a 3-day vacation and they had to take care of the house at the end of high school and cook their own meals and do their own laundry, would they be able to do that? And if they can't, then I think that's a problem, because by the time they're nearing the end of high school, they're getting ready to go out on their own. And I think we see a lot of young adults in college and beyond who still are not adequately able to prepare a good meal or keep a house well. And so that, even just the practical side of it, the younger you start, the better, the more practice they'll have, and the more ingrained it will be in them that this is simply what they do. And the next big benefit is confidence. I think a lot of us have in our mind that kids don't like work. And that if I start to delegate chores to my kid, there's going to be complaining out the yin yang. And depending on what age you're starting this, there might be some initial pushback. But if you start young, I'm talking 1 and 2 years old, start getting them involved in the work. Even if they're not super helpful at that point, they believe they're being, and they're learning that they need to participate. So if you start young, again, it's the mentality. It's what they're learning from the get-go. They are learning you're part of every aspect of this household. If there's a mess going on, we all help to pick it up. If there's chores to be done, we are all contributing. If there's a meal to be made, we are all helping. And then when work time's over, we are all playing together and bonding and investing in each other. And the more they do that, and the more they're able to go from mommy's helper to independent worker, which is what we're shooting for today, the more they feel appreciated as a part of the team, the more they feel capable of being able to do things without mommy's help, and the more they feel that sense of confident ownership that this task is mine, it's my job to get it done all the way. And if I don't do it, it's not going to be done. And handing over a level of responsibility is one of the best ways, and then commending them with a job well done, whether the job actually is well done or if they just gave their best, because obviously at certain ages that's enough and that's great. But once the job's been handed over and the praise has been given for a job well done, the confidence just oozes from them, which lends itself to them wanting to take on more responsibility and do an even better job and make mommy even more proud, and just builds and builds and builds. And then ultimately, it takes burden off of mom. And yes, there will be a learning curve at the get-go. But I can tell you, in the not too distant future, this will take an enormous amount of weight off of your shoulders, which is what the teamwork of family is designed to be. So this is my current reality. I have 4 children, age 1, 3, 6, and 7. Now, my 1-year-old can help pick up a room. So if there is a container, toy box, whatever, in the room, I identify the container that things go into. And then I tell her, all right, let's put things away. Now, this took probably a couple weeks to get her used to what this meant. And I started that as soon as she became mobile, like she was able to walk. We started learning this we pick up by putting things around the room into this container. And so if it's time to pick up, daddy's on his way home and we need to pick up the living room, I make sure she's aware of what toy box we're working with here. And I tell her to pick up the room. Now I tell the older siblings to get things that don't go in the toy box, or else everything will go in that toy box, because that's what her mentality is. But she will go around the room and pick up everything she can find and put it in that toy box. Now my 3-year-old has reached the point, he's about 3.5 now, and he's reached the point that he's learned where everything in the main areas, the kids' bedrooms, the living room, the dining room, all that, where the stuff goes that ends up in those rooms. And and he's also, through several months of accountability training, has learned for the most part that if I say, all right, go clean up the boys' room, he will go walk into the boys' room and start picking it up. Occasionally I'll need to go in there and remind to refocus because he's mostly picking up toys and toys can be distracting. But for the most part, he completely cleans up the room independently. And I am beginning to teach him things like folding rags and dusting and other baseline chores, making his bed. Now, my oldest two, 6 and 7-year-old, they learn most chores together because they're only 13 months apart and they work really good as a team. And so they started when they were 2 and 3 years old, learning baseline chores. And now their daily chores include getting themselves dressed, showered, all hygiene responsibilities, making their bed, cleaning their room, folding and putting away their clothes, getting their dirty clothes into the wash, and then one weekly chore every day. And their weekly chores include dusting the house, cleaning their bathroom, organizing and decluttering the toy boxes, doing their linens and their bed linens and their bathroom linens, and then helping mommy do food prep at the end of the week. And they do all of these chores independently. So when we get up in the morning, I will change while I'm changing the babies, monitoring the 3-year-old as he cleans up his room, and getting the baby set with toys and self-entertainment, and then making breakfast. The older two are knocking out all of their chores independently. So that by the time we sit down as a family to have breakfast, all daily chores are done. And we are ready to tackle our day. So you can see all of the benefits that I'm talking about are simultaneously happening. My children have developed so much confidence and independence and desire to continue taking on more responsibility as they've grown in their effectiveness with these chores. And also, all of these chores are things that I used to have to do, and now I don't. So it's benefiting everyone. It's the family learning and growing and working together. So the baseline process of how to get this started is really my first tip is just to take the first step. Because that can be, I think we can often build up this in our head as being more intimidating than it should be. And often when we just take that first step, it's not as hard as we think it's going to be. So I would say the first step is to sit down and decide what chores in the not too distant future do you want your kids to take over. And these would be, I would say, 4 to 5 weekly chores. So like we only dust our house once a week. We clean our bathroom once a week. Now my kids do a counter wipe down and a mirror wipe down every day. But as far as like scrubbing the toilet and the floor and all that, that's once a week. And so pick 4 or 5 weekly chores and assign one per day. I say 4 to 5 because I do like to leave Friday available if they need to help me declutter an area or do some food prep. So that's completely up to you. And then pick, I would say 6 to 8 daily chores. And then I create a picture list because at the age you should be starting these chores, they're probably not going to be great at reading. And so you don't want there to be a reason that they cannot independently take this on. So go ahead and create the whole list. And that might seem overwhelming. You want to create one list for weekly and one list for daily and plan ahead, fill it up with what you want it to be on that list for the next, little while. And then post it up on the wall somewhere. I have the weekly one in the boys' room, daily one in the girls' room. They can look back and forth as needed. And then start with chore number 1 and start teaching it to them. Just start with one chore. Walk them through it, how to do it, show them how to do it, have them do it with you, then watch them do it. And once they feel be very there and available and supportive until you feel like they've got it. And then start slowly pulling back. Let them know you're here. If they forget something, have any questions, get frustrated, overwhelmed, you're here. But just start slowly pulling back until you get to the point that they're doing it independently. And then introduce another. The reason I'm saying post it all now is one, it can help you plan out in advance, but two, make them aware. These are the chores that we're going to tackle. So they have an idea of what we're moving into and they can wrap their minds around that. That once they achieve chore number one, they're not done. These are the chores that they're now going to become responsible for. And you can even say, while mommy's doing this, this, and this, and this, you're going to be doing these chores to show we're both working so that we can get done with the work and then we can move on to the play. If from the information I've given you, you feel like I got this, ain't nothing but a thing, go do it. You'll be awesome. If you would like more, a little bit more aid, fill in a few more gaps, I have a free uh, roadmap called Raise Independent Children Roadmap. And it comes with a video similar to this one to give you an introduction to the idea. It also comes with a roadmap guide where I walk you through each individual chore. And as I've been teaching my children these chores, the tips and shortcuts that I've learned for each and every chore. And I also give you printables that can be edited of the picture chore list. So you can bring them up in Canva and you can change chore names, you can change chore pictures, just depending upon what you want your children to tackle. Now, I share with you why I chose the chores that I chose, why I chose them in that order, but ultimately you choose what's best for your family. So if this sounds like something that's intriguing, I'd encourage you to click on the link below and download it today. All right, see you next time.